Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. We're the Movie Couple. I'm Dustin.
I'm Wendy.
And we're going to be diving into the show Willow. That's right, we're going to be having a Willow Wednesday. We're actually going to have a show that actually has a W and a W
Yes,
for our
finally.
instead of having to think of something original. So we have Willow Wednesday coming up, but for Willow, we're going to be doing this a little bit differently. Since Wendy and I got invited to the premiere, we got to see the first two episodes up on the big screen. So we aren't going to be able to film our reactions to those. So we're going to be giving you guys our reviews and our thoughts on the first two episodes. But starting on the third episode, we're going to be going back to filming our reactions to this show. Now, I have to tell you, I've been hyped and psyched for this show because I've been waiting for the continuation of the storyline of Willow for about 35, I think it came out
Wow.
in 1988. So that would be 34 years
Wow.
since this movie has come
aged
out.
yourself.
And I love this movie. I grew up on this movie. It was one of those movies that was like before its time because it did such a good job on capturing that idea of high fantasy and bringing it to the big screen and making it fun, making it entertaining, keeping it dark, but still keeping it, relatively kid-friendly. You don't see too many gory things, but there's still a lot of family fun. There's still a little dark moments. So it was just one of those movies that grabbed me as a kid and just brought me into this world of fantasy and magic, and I loved it.
Yeah, I think Dustin's more so than me. He's really been looking forward to Willow. My first exposure to Willow, my English wasn't so great, so I got a gist of what I was seeing, on the screen. But there was a reason why we revisited the original couple of weeks ago, just so I can kind of refresh my memory and to kind of, now that I'm a lot more fluent in English, I can actually understand fully, and also being older, like fully comprehend what is going on. So we've been both looking forward to this. This is totally up our alley, high fantasy, this kind of a story. And just like Dustin said, I am really excited to see the adventure continue and see where it goes. We love that a few of the cast members, the original cast members, are able to come back for this, but there's also a lot of new characters. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this review. I want to be super transparent. This is going to be a spoiler review. Since we couldn't do a reaction for the reasons that Dustin mentioned, we thought that it would be best to give you guys our full spoiler thoughts. So stop this video and come back later. If you haven't watched the episode, go and enjoy that first, and then come on back, and then you can kind of get in on all the spoiler stuff and discuss in the comments below as well. So let's go ahead and get into it, because Saoirse has kids now, which we expected. We had a feeling this was going to happen.
And the episode did kind of start off with a nice little review of the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, it's gonna give you a very quick little recap. Like really, it was like only like 2-3 minutes long of who was Laura Denon and why was she so important and who was she facing off of and who were we rescuing, who was the hero Willow and was able to defeat Bab Morta.
Yeah.
So I just loved how it kind of started off and really just dived on in to this world that I'm really glad that they're kind of expanding on, They're really showing us that what we saw in Willow was just a very small portion of this world. They told us about Mad Mardigan. We now know that, we're going to be focusing on like the kids.
Yes.
And we are going to be going back and meeting Willow, because he's kind of the title character. You kind of need to have him around.
It's like, oh, we have the title character, you're not going to see him. No. He's like super important. He's like the connective tissue to all of this, being, having been the one who protected and saved Alora and, fought against all the evil forces. So it's really important for him to kind of impart his knowledge on the next generation of characters, if you will, which includes the son and daughter of Saoirse.
Saoirse and Mad Mardigan.
Saoirse and Marma, yes, exactly. We have the girl that he fell in love with named Dove. We'll get into a little bit more of that later. We've got Jade. I really, really like these characters, and I know they kind of like. I think for one particular character, Borman, who I really, really like, but we kind of did a thing where Saoirse was sitting in I guess, the dungeon area of her castle, kind of talking to he's behind bars, and I'm like, what? I mean, we figure it out later, but it's kind of almost jarring. I was like, oh, we're just gonna skip over who this person is, and she was speaking pretty comfortable with him, like he knows a lot. So I was like, who is this? But one of my favorite things about this is that they took their time giving us an insight to each of the characters, whether it's Saoirse herself or Jade or Kit, and it was just nice to get a small glimpse of like their personalities, how they mesh. You get a hint of like, oh, I think this relationship is going to happen this way and this friendship that way, and see how they mesh or don't mesh well together. And that kind of all comes to a head when the fog starts rolling into the castle.
Yeah, and it happens at a very inconvenient time when all the heads of the different kingdoms, one realm, multiple kingdoms, united kingdoms sort of a thing, and they're going to have a wedding in the morning, being married off to the betrothed.
Yes.
But of course, the kids are like, wait, you're marrying me off? And then of course, like Wendy said, the fog rolls in and we get introduced to some of these amazing bad guys.
I gotta say, I feel like, yes, I know it's 2022, so like obviously production and everything's gone up, but like it's so creative what these guys look like with their faces, the way they moved, the way they walked, like the man with the right arm that kept on like pummeling people, and his head was in a cage. Then we have the shapeshifter, they said the name, but I can't remember right now.
Right out of Nightmares, really.
Yes, and the bone whip. It was
that
like
I thought was really cool.
So cool.
I do have to admit though, I thought they had a little too much of up close, flashy fight choreography. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of them being able to pull back a little bit and see wide shots. But that's my personal flavor of fight choreography. I want to see the whole picture. I want to see some of the amazing stunts. I want to see some of the amazing skills of the fighters. But if you don't always have the best, you are able to kind of like zoom in on some of these aspects, and you get a really good... These guys are creepy looking.
Yeah.
I mean, the design of them is kind of... You can see where they pulled inspiration from. But I really like the fact that they are not like anything that we've ever really seen before.
One of the guys, and I can't remember because there was like a spellcaster, there was kind of like the tank situation, there was, the shapeshifter, and I think there was another one on horseback.
That was the bone whip guy.
Yeah, oh god, he's so cool.
There was 4 of them all together.
One of them looked like it was like all teeth, no eyes, really. And I think that was maybe the spellcaster. It reminded me of, we saw them in The Wheel of Time.
Yeah,
yes.
the Murdraw.
It just reminded me so much of that with the sharp teeth, the pawn teeth. So I really enjoyed the character designs, and I know we're gonna spend some more time with them throughout the series. So like I'm actually really excited. And what I think the episode was kind of trucking along fine. The pacing was fine. I wasn't bored or anything like that. I just know they had to build to this moment. But the next moment I really enjoyed as well, because it was kind of like, it was giving Lord of the Rings, like building the Fellowship of the Ring, right?
They even made that joke.
In a good
They're
way.
Like, oh great, adding someone else to we don't need anyone else in this fellowship.
Yeah, so I really like that moment a lot. And when they, took off on their horses, and I think it was like a really cool panning shot of them coming up the meadow and the horses, I got like a little emotional. I was like, I can't believe they're making this years later. So that was really cool to see, and that's something I really enjoyed about episode 1. That it was the building of the Fellowship, who's going where, they're like, and they're so young, like they think they're experienced because they spar with each other, but then they really, other than a couple of the characters who had like real life in field experience, they're all just kind of like, we got this. And I was like, do you?
We don't got this. We don't got this.
Yeah, but I love that they're courageous, and they obviously need to get Kit's brother back. So really, really important.
You have to save the prince.
Save the prince. Should we go on to the big
reveal?
Yeah.
So throughout the entire story, one of the things that I was really looking forward to in this series was kind of seeing the reign of Elora Danan. Because, that's what the whole movie is about. Elora Danan must survive. But something that they went off in a completely different direction. And I don't think it's bad. It's just, I had it in my head canon. I was like, yay, I wanted to see Queen Elora Danan. That didn't happen. They tried to pull a whole Sleeping Beauty with her, of taking her out of the kingdom and hiding her amongst somewhere off in the woods, so no one knows where Elora Danan went, or where she is now, or what she's up to, or even if she's still alive. But she's supposed to be the savior of the kingdom, and then it's revealed that this baking girl, this worker in the kitchen that is falling in love, the muffin girl that is falling in love with the prince, is the prophesied Elora Danan. And the fact that Willow just immediately locks eyes with her, and he's like, wait a second, and he just goes right up to her and just reveals the mark. So that was the big reveal in this episode. And I have to admit, I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite expecting that. And I think right now, my brain is a little still stuck in what I wanted to see, and not allowing them to tell me the story that they wanted to tell. I'm still kind of struggling with that a little bit. But I think with the way that I know what it's going to be building up to. It's going to be building up to Elora Danan, building up her powers, finding out that she is very powerful. But since it's just revealed now, I still have to warm up to it. How about you?
I didn't know what to expect. So I was actually trying to figure out when we were seeing, some of the trailers and the cast and the characters. And I was like, who's who? Like, who do we think is related to who, right? We were pretty spot on, other than who they initially called her Dove is. Like, I wasn't prepared for that reveal. So we were sitting at the premiere, and I had no headcanon going in, to this, which I think I really was in my favor.
Yes.
And when the reveal happened, I was like, oh, wait, what? God, in a way, this is when I wish we filmed the reaction, but obviously you're sitting at the premiere, there's no cameras allowed, so that's not happening. But yeah, I couldn't believe it, because I think, one, I was like, oh, they're not going to go and try to find Laura, like she is traveling with them, and she, kind of in the same vein as you, younger than I expected, because she looks young. I don't know how old all these characters are, but at the youngest, I would put them at 18, I'm guessing, and maybe early 20s, but she looks really young, so I don't think they went full, okay, I thought she was going to be about 30-something.
Yeah, which I thought we were going to do, because...
Which would have been cool, too.
I thought this was going to take place 30-some-odd years after the events of Willow. So that's where my headcanon was. But it seems more like this is only going to be maybe 18, 20 years later. So, but that's actually where the episode ended, with revealing that Dove is Elora Danan. So I'm curious on how they're going to start playing this out, on what they're going to choose to pick for her to end up developing her character, since she is now kind of the chosen one. She's that happens a lot. That is a really big fantasy trope, is the farm person, say the scullery maid or the farm boy that is found out to have a prophecy about them, and now they have to go on a dangerous adventure.
You were the chosen one!
You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them.
So it's also a Lucasfilm.
Which is also a Lucasfilm.
That's kind of funny.
Also, one thing that did kind of throw me off about this show is the way, not necessarily the dialogue, but the dialect that they chose for each character to have. I feel that it was a little too modern, to where, when you say, yeah, okay, that feels a little too not fantasy. Where I was expecting, and everyone's accent was just a little bit different.
Yeah.
To where if you're in a kingdom or a realm, everyone would have very specific kind of dialects.
Right.
And I feel like that was kind of just glossed over and just chosen to be hey, you know what? everyone kind of just do your own version of an accent, or so there wasn't. It's nothing really big, but it's something that did every now and again maybe go, that's a little modern for them to
take
say.
you out of it a little bit.
Takes me out of it just a little bit.
Yeah, I think because we have the older characters, both in appearance and like whether or not they were in the original film, like Willow and like Saoirse, like it's established the way they spoke. And they sounded like it was period and it belonged to the show. And I think some of the other characters, the newer characters that we have, their not the mannerism, but their, the way they spoke and certain words they chose felt more modern and less period. So like I felt like the two clashed and I was like, can we just decide on one?
Pick one.
And go, yeah, just like either everybody, and I don't care about the accents. You can have whatever accents you want. That's fine. But like for me, but like the period and the modern in the same scene really throws me off, and I think especially in the party ballroom scene where I was like, oh, that's noticeable, and I was pretty early on the show. So I think as the show goes on and as we watch it more, I feel like we'll notice it less and less and less.
Most likely.
Yeah.
We'll get used to it over time.
But we just wanted to mention that. All right, so, we get to find out what happens next in episode 2. So why don't you guys join us in our spoiler review for episode 2. We will link it for you right up here so you can go ahead and click on over and let us know your thoughts on the first episode. Did you have headcanon like Dustin? It was everything you expected? Or are you brand new to Willow? And if so, what did you think of the show? Let us know. Comment below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.